Hi, welcome to New Normal. My name is Alex. I'm Triton Derivative, and I'm here with Dawson Botsford, creator of earni.fi. Hey, Dawson, how's it going?
Hey, it's super good. Thanks for hosting me.
Shyamalan, I'm stoked to talk to you. Welcome to New Normal. You make an awesome product that helps alert people to airdrops and also automatically claims POAP badges. What was your inspiration for making this like essential product?
So earni.fi is the tool that I needed. As a person new to DeFi, it can be a huge world that you can get lost in easily. And I think with DeFi and with NFTs and everything in the crypto space, take your time getting to know it and have fun as you're doing it. But as you're taking your time, it can be detrimental if you don't hear about airdrops that you're a part of. This can be expiring airdrops or just airdrops that can last a long time. But the fact that they might be already out there for you to claim and you don't know about that money is something that I wanted to solve.
Totally. Yeah. There's been a few that I've missed out on, and it's been a total bummer. And yours has actually helped me claim a couple that I either I was kind of aware of, and then it was like in the background, and sometimes time wears on you, and like having that reminder there, being able to subscribe and then just check on my board and see like what's up is, oh my gosh, like I said, it's essential, and I recommend it to as many people as I can because there's just not enough time. Um, could you tell me more about the POAPs? Because I think that's awesome.
Sure. Yeah. So for anyone who wants to test this out, you can go to earni.fi, earni.fi. And what this will do for you with Poke tokens is it searches all of them for your address. So if you wanted to go to the Poke website and actually search yourself, you'd have to put in your Ethereum address in each and every token to see if you have it, I think there's about 100 right now on the website.
Mhm.
This is at poap.delivery. That's the URL that Pope has for this. But instead of pope.delivery, you can search all of them for free on earni.fi for one wallet on the homepage. Or if you create an account with earni.fi, you can search up to 10 wallets at once instantly. So these Pope tokens are little collectibles, and not knowing you have them is not only like a bummer because they're really fun, but there's pull-up raffles as well. And there's actually some really legit ones, like Bankless does them. The Bankless ones are like really high value. I think they did a bunch of ledgers, like every day for a week was a ledger, which is like $100 piece of hardware.
Yeah,
So that type of thing is something you can miss out on. And pull-up raffles are also included within earni.fi.
that's so cool. Yeah, I checked in the other day because I'd been away on vacation. And I was like, oh my gosh, this claimed all my popes. That's so cool. It was just like it was really great to come home to because I did have the FOMO thing of like I'm on vacation, but I'm missing out on this like kind of like critical part of my life because I am full time in crypto, and being away has that weird, I don't know what it is, but it was a great sense of just fulfillment almost, like to come back and see that like this whole list of things that I had potentially missed out on was just like taken care of, and for the buy-in and for the fact that like you have like a really easy smooth interface. I can't think of like a better product that does this thing. And like what what was it that like really led you to, you said you built it for yourself, what led you to find yourself in this position?
Yeah, so what led me to this was a really slow process of trying to jump into Ethereum. Um, my claim to fame, but also my biggest like kicking myself is I contributed to the Ethereum website on day one of the token sale back in 2015. There was like a spelling error and I fixed that. And I felt super hyped to like be in the Ethereum community. But I wasn't a part of the Ethereum community because back then there was nothing to do. Like there was no MetaMask, there was no Uniswap. So like I didn't know how to get involved. And so I just took years and years off. And I was like, this Ethereum thing's not for me. It's too hard.
Mhm.
And so what I really like found out at the start of this year, this is in 2021, is that you can start with like small bites. You can start with any portion of crypto as well. So like I purposely blocked out NFTs and I purposely blocked out yield farming from my knowledge and like from my research just to learn about DeFi. And only as of last week have I started to care at all about NFTs and some of the other areas in crypto, because if you try to take in everything, you're asking for an exhaustive experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much work staying up to date in the space. And I think more tools like what you've built are like just absolutely essential. You built this with React and you are a web developer by trade now, right? Is that like what your wheelhouse is?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a full stack developer. Spent several years back in the day at Uber and a few other small startups, honing those skills, but really specialized originally in front end,
Okay.
which I think shows on earni.fi. It's a very front end heavy product. Like the ability to check up to 10 wallets for 150 airdrops at once is a performance nightmare. And then of course, there's a few VCs that have special access to 50 wallet accounts. And so searching 50 wallets for 150 airdrops at once is, yeah, it's 50 times 150. That's like 750 airdrops that you have to check simultaneously. So these types of performance things I loved and I had so much fun with, and I'm still having so much fun with, because earni.fi is a constantly evolving product that I'm full-time on. So I scratched my itch as a software engineer, and I'm glad a little bit that I got a university degree in computer science for some of the stuff I just mentioned. But besides that, my university degree has been not very useful in the world of crypto, as you can imagine.
I've heard that. So did you build this from the ground up, or did you use some kind of scaffold like hard hat or something?
Yeah, I built it from the ground up.
Cool.
Luckily, it started really slow. Like it started without one of the biggest feedback requests the first month of launching was that I couldn't even check if you had claimed your airdrop. And so people were getting really excited about like, oh my gosh, I have a Uniswap airdrop again. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have $10,000 again.
Yeah.
And then very quickly, frowny face and cry emoji. People were disappointed, obviously. So what I mean by that is that the reason I mentioned that is because that then did involve on-chain activity. But no, I didn't need to use hard hat or anything. I just connected directly to a node with Infura originally, but actually now I'm partnered with Pocket, the Pocket network. It's
cool.
POKT. It's a super cool network for any developers out there. It's Infura, but decentralized. And so whenever Infura goes down, you won't go down. Your website will stay live.
That's epic. That's really cool. Nice. I definitely want to ask you more about like kind of where you're coming from, but before we started talking, you mentioned that you had a job that in this space might be kind of controversial. Part of your history was that you worked for the NSA. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I worked for the National Security Agency. That's it's a top secret branch of the Department of Defense here in the United States. There's very mixed opinions on that organization. I was there during Edward Snowden and a lot of the scandals then. And so it was a very stressful time and honestly not very enjoyable time either. But it's a really important part of my history because while there, I discovered that the most interesting work lies on the bleeding edge, on the newer inventions and newer creations that are happening, which obviously is happening like crazy in crypto. And so what I learned at the NSA was that I didn't want to get stuck in the past. A lot of the technology there is actually pretty old. And so I learned that I wanted to have a bigger lever for moving the world and for moving technology. And so, yeah, becoming a web developer was the no-brainer, which is pretty funny because all of my colleagues from back then, my classmates and everything are, I think for the most part, low-level engineers still. And so, I've really took a hard turn. And back then it was a joke to be a web developer. But the web has gotten so much stronger in the last 10 years that it's not even, you're silly if you make fun of a web developer at this point, because these web apps it's our entire crypto world. You're not downloading native apps to like swap on Uniswap, you're using a website.
Yeah.
And so there's an advanced web developer out there somewhere that is making these apps for us. So that's my area of focus now.
Totally, that's cool. And like that probably gives you unique insight. And I'm curious to see what you come up with in the future because of your history in cryptography and stuff like that. Was that formative? You said you also went to school for computer science. Was that what you went to school for?
So I never did a specialization in the world of computer science, at least within university. I got my 4-year undergrad, which does not have a focus beyond general computer science.
Okay.
As far as like electives, I didn't take cryptography either. I took a single elective of a really low level development course, so I could understand binary and logic gates, which just is to scratch an itch. We're not writing in binary. I'm not sitting here typing 10101111. Like that's not how we do software engineering, even if the matrix will make it look that way. And then I took one extra course on web development and working with React, and that was like everything I needed to be on my own doing the research and understanding things through GitHub and just Googling, which I think really does lay the path to what we do now in crypto. Is we teach ourselves, or we learn from one another on podcasts and YouTube episodes like this one. We learn on our own about these concepts.
Word. Yeah. And for anybody who's interested in learning about developing or starting to be a developer themselves, like, is there like maybe like one bit of advice that you'd give them?
Definitely. And this is one piece of advice I never hear for some reason. This is the simplest thing. Go make your own website about either something you love or about your own personal resume. For me, I was like a total nerd about jobs and business and stuff. And so I loved making my own resume website.
Cool.
It was the first thing I ever did outside of school.
Nice. That's awesome. That's kind of comparable to somebody else that was on the show. They're the creator of Fake Internet Money, and I had him on the show because I was really interested in the fact that he built, like, I'm doing quotes right now, fake websites, where they're like basically just like psyops, and they're really strange social experiments. And his building career started with the fact that he just had to get a job and show that he had chops. And though he had like low level, like a little bit of experience doing this and that with HTML, or like he's a JavaScript developer as well. And like seeing him develop and seeing that when he advanced, it was related to the essentials that he had to do. The things that he needed to do were what leveled him up. And being able to present his like caseload and all the stuff that he's ever come up with was formative in him making, more functionality in his websites and stuff like that. And it's like, as he developed new skills, he'd integrate them to show them off. So it was like a meta approach to that resume. I dig that. Do you have any really cool examples of things that you've built, maybe just in that capacity?
Yeah, I have way too many because I was talking to a friend recently. He was saying when he heard about the success of earni.fi, this was a friend who's not in crypto, and I hadn't caught up with him in a few months. He was like, wow, Dawson, like this is what you've been working on for 10 years. Because he had seen me launch so many useless projects and so many useless websites on GitHub and a few other, like I would always beg my friends for stars on my projects. But examples of those are, I made a really nerdy tool for web developers to build mail to links. This is like when you want to contact on a web page, you can click like contact us, it'll open your email.
Yep.
I made a tool for encoding all the data there so that you can have CC, BCC, subject, and body all filled out with example text.
Oh, nice.
And that sees really steady traffic, about 30 visitors a day for the last 5 years. But nothing that has ever splashed and like made a huge impact until earni.fi. And so, you can poke around on my GitHub for this, but most they're just all developer tools and just like really nerdy small things. Like always start small, and that's why I said make a website. I should add to make a website. I should add go make a website with just HTML. Once you've done that, then go make a website with just HTML and some CSS. CSS is what gives it colors and stuff. And only then, when you're like having a lot of fun and you feel like you get it, try a little bit of JavaScript. But if you go out there and just search like how to make a website with React, the way that the tool that I use for websites. If that's your first ever time doing software engineering, that's going to be really difficult. And you won't understand what is great about React until you've done some basics.
Yeah, yeah. I've made that mistake, and it's like you end up like the Wicked Witch of the Witch with that whole house on you.
Yeah, it's a big world, and yeah, coding can be difficult, that's for sure. But you want it to be at the level of difficulty that is achievable. I do a lot of physical training, and I'm actually a CrossFit coach as well.
Oh, cool.
And what we do there is we want you to be at your limits, but not so far past your limits that you sacrifice your form. It's the same thing with coding. If you go too far, you're going to be unable to finish the project, or you're going to do it in a way that's really low quality. And if you're practicing bad reps, that's going to be a bad thing for you. I was trying to make an analogy from fitness, but
no, that's great. It's so eloquent. That's very true in so many things in life. That is that hit home for real.
Nice.
When you launched this, you launched it at ETH Global, and you were the winner of that hackathon, huh?
Yeah, it was an incredible experience that weekend. So the way it worked is I was ending a previous job on a Thursday. That Friday night, which was the very last 2 days of this month-long hackathon, I decided in the last 2 days that I was like, this airdrop thing should really exist. Like, I didn't know if all my wallets had airdrops or not. And I was like, this is the time to check, is by building the website I know I need for myself. So within 48 hours, I did this. You can see on my Twitter history, which it might be hard to find actually, but you can take my word for it. Like months back in February, I sent out this tweet of the confetti falling, which is like the famous thing now on earni.fi. If you have an airdrop, yeah, you get a bunch of confetti falling on your screen. It was a screenshot of that with just like raw text saying like Uniswap or 1inch if you had Uniswap or 1inch. It was like this super ugly looking, just like dump of raw text. And yet that tweet went viral, and I had never had a viral tweet before. Like the next day I was actually on the ski slopes. I was with a friend who's also into crypto, and I was like, dude, I don't know what's happening. Like on the chairlift, I'm like, snacking on my PB&J, just looking down, like this has never happened before. My phone is, I think it was like 600 or 700 likes in the first day. And I was like, when I got home, I was like, everything from now on will be, how do I grow this and show that this is something everyone needs? And yeah, being a finalist at that hackathon was the kickstart I needed. By the end of the hackathon, there was already 5,000 email signups. Wow. And yeah, just kept growing it like crazy. And it's grown now 55,000 email signups is what it's past, I think, at the moment.
That's wild. It is such a great tool. There's kind of two things there that I'm curious about. One is like, did you go solo in that hackathon? And follow up, how did you actually adjust to that like influx of attention, and like how did you stay humble?
That's a good question. How do you stay humble? Maybe I'll talk about the parts that probably are egotistical before I talk about being humble, which is how did I do it all alone? And that's just that I have always liked to be a lone wolf on most things. You can say I'm problematic a bit as an employee, not very good at teamwork in some certain teams, at least. This is the thing you find with most entrepreneurs, actually. Like, they're not as good at being subservient or even being a peer. And like, sometimes they will thrive by being the one that is making the shots, calling the shots. And so this is my first time actually getting that opportunity. And I wanted to see how far I could go alone. I'm really into minimalism and essentialism. Like, those are my philosophies within my personal life, which is the idea that, like a quick primer on essentialism, it's the idea of minimalism applied to everything. So like your time and where you spend your energy in life is minimal, is only where it needs to be for the highest output. All that to say that because I believe in that, I wanted to operate this alone as long as possible. I contracted with a designer for the designs and like the illustrations and just the lipstick really on the website, because that's an area that I would not thrive on alone. All the pull-up tokens, I work with Boris Block. He's a guy on Twitter. And so he does the designs, and he or she, actually, I'm not I think it's an anonymous, I can't tell if it's an anon or not, but this person just makes designs and I send a random address some money. It's like the coolest part about crypto, you know, you don't, like, folks can operate independently and anonymously.
Yeah, that is so cool. I love that that is an aspect of our economy now. It really reminds me of like Alvin Toffler's Future Shock, where he talked about like cottage industry and like manufacturing, and it's come to the internet. They didn't even have the words for it back then, but it's like a realization of like all these things coming into the fold. I think it's really awesome that you know you could be interacting with a robot, or you could be interacting with a person. It doesn't really matter who it is, as long as they do the job.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully we see a lot more of that growing, as that's what crypto can enable.
This product's only been live for like what, like 7 or 8 months, something like that. You said you launched it in February, I think.
Yeah, I launched in February, and you know, the timing on this, like looking back, I could not imagine a better fit. Like if someone had launched this earlier, it would not, there were not enough airdrops for it to be valuable.
Yeah.
And if you had launched it later, then you would have missed a lot of airdrops. Like, you know, I launched this the week, I think it was February 9th. We're coming up on 6 months, I think today actually, or tomorrow. And a week later was the mask airdrop. And the mask airdrop was the first ever expiring airdrop.
Okay, yeah.
It was 1 week, and every 24 hours it cut in half, or it cut to 20%. So your allotment cut by 20%. And this was both a mistake on earni.fi and the biggest learning experience. Like, I'm so glad it happened when there were not as many users. But when I mention mistake, it's because there was a bug in my email notification code. Like, I wrote the email notification code myself. This is like a highly custom system. And I think it was 10% of earni.fi or 20% of earni.fi users got their email notifications. And the rest had to actually check the site manually, which, yeah, it's not the end of the world because it still showed you if you had yours. But it was a huge, you know, it's an issue that I'm not proud of. And this is one of the areas of how do I stay humble, is like, no one's going to do this perfectly. And actually, this is a really important part to hit on, which is like the ethics of earni.fi is that I will do my absolute best to show you all the money you can possibly go claim. That said, I'm a human, and code inherits some of the bugs that we have as humans. And if there's a mistake, I always refund people. I recently refunded someone 4 months of earni.fi because they were like, it's not very useful to me. And I looked at their transaction history and I was like, that's true. You don't use enough protocols, and like you have been unlucky with like the few you've used have not airdropped. And so sure, I will refund that, because I feel like so lucky to be in this position where there are a lot of enthusiastic customers like you who found so much value out of it. In like the last podcast I did as well, the host found like $3,000 or $5,000 through earni.fi, and like, yeah, folks like you make up for and like help cover the losses basically on the newer people who really do need a welcoming community, and they need like friendly refund policies in order to understand that crypto is not here to like rug pull you and steal everything. Only a few projects are here to do that.
Yeah.
And earni.fi is not one of them. earni.fi is one of the quality projects.
Yeah, it's an outstanding product. Is there anything new coming for it?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. One area that I'm so interested in with like the recent launch of Loot this week, and the N project, which is like a random number NFT.
Yeah.
People are using these as keys to unlock locks. And so like by owning this NFT, you have a key, and like the lock doesn't yet exist. That's super esoteric. But what I mean is that like it's allowing the dev community to build a lock that only yours will unlock. And so to simplify what I mean with the Pope tokens and what earni.fi is going to be doing is, if you're a customer for 3 months, you can get a premium Pope. It says like earni.fi Premium 2021 on it. And I've already partnered with ExpressVPN to offer discount. So if you have that Pope, you can unlock the discount. Yeah, and the idea is that there'll be a massive amount of opportunities for things you can unlock. Like ExpressVPN is just one that is like going on a limb and trusting earni.fi.
Yeah.
But as soon as there's this page and enthusiastic fans of this idea of like an unlock, I imagine that there will be more crypto companies and other companies interested in partnering here, because like the earni.fi fans and this community is just the nicest and coolest group of people. And so like, if you're going to take crypto and get involved as a company, you should get involved in a high quality company, because you don't want to be part of a bad rap or like a rug pull. So that's coming next. And that's probably the area I'm most excited about with earni.fi right now.
That's so awesome. That's really cool. And also one thing kind of before we wrap up, you mentioned that you have an interesting hobby. What are you doing right now?
Yeah, so this interesting hobby, I got really into NFTs last week, specifically weird whales, which is a whale NFT. And I decided to cross stitch that NFT.
It's beautiful. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
So this is like a needle craft. If you've never heard of cross stitching, you have a needle and thread and you go in and out with the pattern. And so this is the first one I'm making, and I've actually already gotten an interest from other whale holders. And so I might be turning the cross stitching into a business as well.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I think here, I've got this frame, and then excuse the stock images, but I've got this like 3 frame.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment I actually have 3 whales. And so I think I'm gonna cross stitch all 3 and just hang them up here in my office. And so
That's so awesome.
I really think the other NFT holders want to show off their stuff physically. And of course there's digital devices for that, but like what else is like better than just a handmade quality gift like this? And so yeah, hoping to get some punk holders in as well, and just other pixelated art projects. If you have a pixelated art project and want to chat, let me know.
Totally. Yeah, I'll dish that to people too. That's awesome. And you know what? It's such a logical progression. It's a very structured process. It probably, like, for you IRL is actually maybe like, like coming home. It's because you do all this in another capacity, but then you have this thing that can be like, some of it's muscle memory, some of it is still very creative because you want to match your colors, you want to make it appear realistic. That's so cool. And people do definitely want an added degree of involvement beyond just holding it. I know that's true. I mean, like, I personally will buy things because they're related to the NFTs that I have. Sometimes I buy derivative projects. I bought this punk thing that was glass punks, and it was stained glass in the shape of a punk. It's out
And it's
there.
physical, like you have this in your office now?
It's in the box. I haven't hung it up yet. I was worried I was going to break it.
Yeah, you should send a picture of that. I want to see that, or send me a link afterwards.
Here, actually,
so cool.
I'll turn my camera on. I kept my camera off because I just wanted to max out on bandwidth, so we had a nice smooth stream. But here we go. There's the.
Oh wow, that's incredible. And you have this punk as well. Did you have to sign a transaction?
No, they did like derivatives that were just kind of like similar. That would be cool. I'm trying to get Bobby Axelrod on, because he does that like blockchain verification thing with his like digital displays, and he started with hash masks, and you can only get the screen with this one thing on it if you could verify. And I think more and more stuff like that is going to be like utterly essential, even like with like like identity and like credibility in the space. I think it's a burgeoning industry for sure.
Yeah, I love that. It makes sense that folks will want to hang stuff up and show it off. And that one you have there is so cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it tickled me. And it's funny because as far as I know, when they started, they didn't actually intend on doing real ones. They just were like, here's glass punks. And then people were like, but I thought I was buying this thing. And then so they made good on it.
Yeah, I love that. That's how earni.fi started. So during the hackathon, it was just that landing page with the confetti. And as it was exploding at night when it was going viral, I was like, maybe I should add an email sign up and like give people notifications for new ones.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing that like, you can look at earni.fi now and be like, oh my gosh, this is so much work. Like, how could I ever become an entrepreneur in crypto? And you're like, well, you start really slow and start small. And you can actually see, so earni.fi was originally called Claimable.
Oh, okay.
And the original repo is on GitHub. So you can see what won the hackathon. That code is there, and like you can fork that and work on, I don't know, something internal with it or external, but it's, you know, it's very far from what earni.fi is right now.
Mhm.
But you can still see like how it works. And I think that's like so cool about this community is it's open and sharing.
Totally, yeah. And that goes back to what you said early on about taking like, you know, I think you said like small bites or something like that, just doing one thing at a time and scaling up.
Yeah, spot on. And I would definitely recommend anyone who knows React to check that out, that repo. But yeah, otherwise, if you're like the group that's going to try out your first HTML website after this, I would say don't yet read the source code of that website because you'll get overwhelmed.
Mhm. Yeah, that's cool. Is there a repo that you think is like just like really well organized, just like a great starter repository to go check out?
I think I'll have to follow up with something like that because nothing comes to mind immediately as like this is how you could like step through this process.
Mhm.
And honestly, like if there was a really great one out there, I wouldn't know of it at the moment because I haven't been a beginner in that way in such a long time.
Heard that,
So I
yeah.
think other folks can probably find that through searching like even better than I would be able to recommend.
Yeah, and it's funny. People hate when I say this, but one of the cleanest repos, and this is way advanced, but one of the cleanest repos I've ever seen is Hex. It looks phenomenal. It looks good, and it's just so well ordered. When I look at other people's stuff, sometimes it's just a jumble, and I don't even know where to start. But like with that, like I could just follow it. I could just follow it. And I was like, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense to me. And it's made me question some of the people's like, you know, like browbeating of that dude. So, you know, like there's something to be said for ordering something well. It might work, but how easily digestible is it? How forkable is it? I mean, all that goes into the decentralization ethos. And I think making it user friendly, not just on the front, but on the back, is like really important. I'm looking forward to taking a deeper dive into what you have going on, and maybe sometime down the road, if you'd be interested, could do kind of like a walkthrough.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really interested and willing to do that. In addition, you know, I'm jumping into the NFT community and contributing to some repos there because like that organization of what you said is so critical. And really my previous experience of just building tons and tons of these like small open source projects
Mhm.
is that I'm really good at making a README file, which used to be the most useless skill. But after what you just said, like it's true and verification that the rest of the world does need a good introduction and layout and like these software projects need good scaffolding in order to grow. Otherwise, it falls apart as it scales. And so, yeah, I'd love to do a walkthrough of. In fact, one of the repos I'm working on right now for weird whales, I'm cleaning it up, and we can chat about that kind of stuff in the future, and especially if there's some developers interested in hearing more about that.
That's so awesome. I'm so stoked to have had the opportunity to talk to you. Before we wrap, is there anything that's just like really got your attention in the space that you're just super excited about?
Well, I'll give two plugs, I guess, or one plug and then a more humble answer. The plug would be I'm really excited about airdrops, of course, and I'm excited about helping people find unclaimed ones. So if you're not subscribed to earni.fi, consider it. It's free, earni.fi, because you might miss expiring airdrops otherwise. So that's the plug. As far as the non-plug, I'm really excited about the cross stitching.
Yeah. Yeah, I am too. Those whales look awesome.
Yeah, I've got another. This is a normal whale, so like the skin color is one of the attributes, just like with punks.
Yep.
I've got this normal whale, and then I've got an alien whale that I own as well that I'm going to work on the cross stitching for next after this one.
That's so cool. Yeah. And it's cool that you're doing the ones that you own, because that like I think that's respectful to the space. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen if someone puts a high bid on one of them because like I want to own them and I want to have them with my NF like with my cross stitching, and it wouldn't even feel the same. Like if I lost the digital ownership, I don't think I would want to keep the physical ownership in the same way.
That's funny. Anonymous Nobody sold their punk and they delisted all their derivative products.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, I was wondering about that with punks because I don't know anyone in the punk community, but like there's so much behind the reputation of when you have one, but also that's a life-changing amount of money for most of them. If you want to cash out, more power to you. That's okay. Just like you can go buy all of the world's weird whales with the money from a punk, or like, you can buy a house. You know, like life exists outside of crypto as well. So I don't blame anyone who wants to sell.
Yeah, totally.
After all, I need someone selling to buy, and I'm in the buying stage. So what were you gonna say?
I'm stoked to get the chance to talk to you. This has been awesome.
Of course. Thank you for the time. Let's do it again sometime soon.
For sure. Yeah, and your product really is like essential. It's cool that you framed it that way too, and that you live by that ethos, because I don't know where I'd be without earni.fi. I mean, I probably would have missed at least a half dozen airdrops at this point.
Wow, you're really active in DeFi, and I love chatting with folks like you who've found the value. So yeah, it's for people like you, and I just hope even more airdrops will be coming and folks like you can still find more and more on it.
Awesome. And if anybody wants to find you, how can they find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm DeFi Dawson. That's DAWSON. And then earni.fi is earni.fi. There is no Twitter. There is no Instagram or anything for earni.fi. You know, you're talking to a real person. If you click the Twitter button on earni.fi, it's my Twitter. So yeah, just follow me if you want to hear about earni.fi stuff and a tiny bit of whale cross-stitching, but mostly earni.fi airdrop information.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you have a weird one today.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Later. Have a good one.
Cheers.